Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, Bryce Simon and I are going to talk about the newest updates from Pablo Torre on the Kawhi Leonard case, which I think is probably the most compelling piece of evidence that he's presented to this point. We're going to talk about Josh Giddey's contract. We're going to talk a little bit about the Adam Silver press conference experience, which is always just a bit of a wild ride. And then we're going to talk about some of the injuries that have occurred, such as Dylan Harper and Thomas here at the end. But first, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown. Bang! Bang! What's this going to be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? How are you? I'm excited to get back into our routine here. We had our Sunday live back, Thursday live tonight. I'm sure we'll be back this Jurassic Park mug. Let's go.
Yeah.
I love it. I need to start drinking out of my Pistons Pulse mug. You give me an idea
There you
there.
go.
I just have these generic Yetis. I don't know why I'm promoting Yeti when I could be promoting the pod.
Yeah, that's right. I am just promoting a multi-billion-dollar conglomeration such as Universal. There were so many takes after last episode that I was trying to shill for Steve Ballmer and shill for the billionaires and everything, which is so funny to me.
Just stay on brand. Stay on brand today with Jurassic Park, Sam.
My goodness. Well, we're going to talk about the Kawhi thing momentarily. Yeah, the reaction to the last episode was very funny. I don't really need to get into reacting to the reactions and everything, but it was quite funny because, we're going to talk about a new dentist today. As Mr. Ray says in the comments, we got a new dentist in the picture here from Pablo Torre. I believe that Amin El Hassan referred to him as Grandpa Dennis, which is the funnier way to phrase it. So before I go into this whole thing, I'll just kind of give you the floor. What did you think of the new Pablo show?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this in terms of, did Pablo have more? Would he uncover more? And what would that be about? You know, to quickly recap what we discussed last time, you very eloquently outlined everything that was reported. Again, almost all from Pablo Torre, or at least, I think some new stuff came out and then he was able to confirm it. And we essentially said there's plenty of circumstantial evidence here. The NBA can definitely come in and lay down some sort of, punishment. We didn't think it was completely airtight, sealed, delivered, however you want to say it. We didn't think there was that one, perfect piece of evidence. I don't know that this is quite that, but in terms of things we've seen, it's like the dots that are the easiest connect, right? Like there's some dots that you can connect. Yes. This one seems like, okay, we're not talking $50 million. We're talking very amounts of money, sums that are very, very close together, and what sounds like a very finite timeline that it all happened.
Beyond that, I think it's the least explicable thing that I've heard.
Sure. Yeah.
So far, even. We'll talk about that in a second. But, okay. Where we left off last time, essentially, was, in terms of our conclusions on the Kawhi thing, was Pablo Torre has done an amazing job here reporting this out. First and foremost, shout out to Pablo. We are massive fans of Pablo here on the show, as I've mentioned throughout this thing. Two, I felt like there was enough to penalize them at the very least already. Whether or not it's a massive penalty, remains to be seen. But I felt like there was enough to at least give them some sort of penalty. I've seen some people kind of bring up the idea of you either have to crush them or you can't do anything. And I just very strongly disagree with that. I think that I think the thing that people are missing here on a lot of this is that so many of these CBA rules haven't been stress tested, really. People can bring up that it says that you have circumstantial evidence and that's good, but people like we've never seen this before where it hasn't been a totally open and shut case, right? Like the Joe Smith thing was completely open and shut. Like there was documentation and there was a literal contract in a drawer, right? So we had that. There was nothing that could be argued with that. We haven't stress tested if there's like a little bit of gray area here where did the Clippers know anything? What did they know, etc. Right? So I just think that there's a very wide array of potential outcomes here. It's kind of where I'm at right now.
Delta. Your word is delta. Like, right?
Yes. It's a massive delta, I think. So I think that, you could see them get absolutely crushed based off of what we know right now. And I think that you could see them get like completely, I don't know about off scot-free at this point, but like you could see them get, very, very minimally punished, maybe is the way to put it. So that's kind of where I'm at. The number 3 point we left it at, the league needs to absolutely investigate this, right? Like go under an investigation. They have hired Wachtell, the firm, to be able to go in and investigate this thing in a very strong manner. Number 4, the point was like, not sure they're going to totally obliterate them without any sort of real, like, strong evidence completely tying the Clippers to this. We'll talk about that in a minute based off of what Adam Silver said at the Board of Governors press conference. And then finally, like, Uncle Dennis, man, what you doing? Like, where are you at? Like, what are we thinking here on some of this stuff? I think that Kawhi's like role in this has just gone like very under the radar, by the way, and like Uncle Dennis's role has gone like way under the radar on this. We talked about that on the last episode. Like, absolutely, there are two sides to a standard player contract. There is the Clippers / NBA side, and there is the player side. Kawhi deserves some heat for doing this. Like, this is a real factor here, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay. I mean, and based on some of the stuff we've seen, like they've asked for this, right? Like it's come like what their ask of the Raptors and stuff like that.
Which
like
Bruce Arthur just reported in the Toronto Sun.
Yeah, like, and so it's just like I don't think it was like, hey, Kawhi, can we pay you less and then we'll backdoor it through this channels? I don't know this, but it seems like they were very much in play with this. So,
yep. Okay. So Pablo today released another show. And this is one of the things that I mentioned on the last episode was that having understood Pablo's work now on this show for a while, I've been listening for a good amount of time, especially throughout the summer on the NFLPA reporting that he did. He tends not to release it all in one go. He tends to continue on, right? Be it that he continues to tug at things like a dog with a bone, which is fantastic, or be it that he withholds something for a second show, right? There are myriad things that I think he could continue to look at down the road. And I am in no way surprised that we have seen more reporting from Pablo on this, which is why the entire time I was like, okay, let's do an investigation. Let's see where this kind of goes, and why I'm playing it a little bit more patiently than I think people want me to with some of the, punishment stuff, because I just want to see where this goes. Right. So today's report from Pablo, essentially to bare bones it. On December 22nd, 2002.
Wait, 2022.
Or no, I'm sorry. 2022. On December 15th, 2022. Aspiration laid off 20% of their staff. This company was clearly struggling. It wasn't quite going under, but it was very clearly in a place where it was an unhealthy company. That day, Aspiration filed a $1.75 million payment to Kawhi Leonard, which was it was later than what it was scheduled in his employment, quote unquote, agreement. On top of that, just 9 days earlier, money came in the form of $1.99 million from a company called DEA 88 Investments. That is the company of Dennis Wong, who is Steve Ballmer's former roommate at Harvard, who is the vice chairman of the Clippers, the only person who owns a percentage of the Clippers beyond Steve Ballmer. Steve Ballmer owns 99%. Dennis Wong owns 1%. That's it. And why this really kind of raised alarm bells for me, and why I think this is something that is very difficult for him to explain, is that so just to be clear, $1.99 million 9 days before this Aspiration remits a $1.75 million payment to KL2 Aspire.
That was late. That was late, correct?
It was late. Yes. Why this is so strange is that Dennis Wong's daughter worked at the company, so he had good intel on what was going on at the company in all likelihood. She was the project manager. She might not have been clued in totally to the finances, but you get a feel on these things if you've ever been like at a startup. 2, it's just a very small amount of money to be investing at the point that we were at with Aspiration. It was enough to where he would own 0.072 Pablo calculated of the company, which again, just like a very, very low number at the end of the day. And C, it is extremely weird for somebody to be investing in a company at such a low number for the first time, right before like you're about to get to like SPAC time, and right before you're about to get to potentially this thing like going wide and being such a big thing. I think it is just very odd timing, because if he was going to do this, why would he not just get involved when Ballmer did it?
Yeah.
Originally, when he invested the $50 million would be my thing.
Yeah. The timing is weird. I'm with you on the amount. Like, it just doesn't seem like this is the one where it seems very much like this is just like him paying a certain amount to help pay Kawhi's contract, right? And like that, this is the one that really, and I'm sure some people are going, dummies, that's what the $50 million Ballmer investment was. But you can somewhat explain the Ballmer $50 million investment, whether you agree with it or not. We outlined all of that. We talked about how it didn't seem like a sound investment, but $50 million isn't that much to Ballmer, and maybe he made a mistake in terms of...
Speaking of it not being a sound investment, Bryce.
Yes.
They got a filing of the investor agreement that Dennis Wong signed, right?
Okay, sure.
In the agreement, it literally says like there are disclosures in there saying that like they are under investigation, basically. So that's where I look at this and I'm like, okay, this isn't really a sound investment. This isn't something that you can really explain away as like a logical decision on some level. Like I can come up with excuses for like the first batch of information. I can at least like in my head be I can see worlds where this came this way.
We played the other world, right? We played the other world, whether we think that the other world is real or not. We played the other world just for the sake of doing it. It's hard to play the other world with this one, right?
Yeah. The only like thing I could come up with is this guy was like thinking he was helping them make payroll for a month or two or whatever because his daughter works there. Like that was literally the only like possible outcome I could come up with. But again, it's such a small number. It's such a small number that like that's where I'm really struggling with it. Especially because he was doing it along with two of their other primary investors. This one is very difficult. This one is very, very, very difficult for me to kind of wash away, I would argue.
And trust me, I know Ballmer wouldn't be the first to go on national television and deny something and aggressively deny something. But I'm like, he had to know this was here, right? Ballmer had to know that this was going to come out. And so that's why part of me still like, why was he so aggressive in saying, like, what the first statement from them was almost like, we're going to be able to prove that we had nothing to do with it. And it's like everything that comes out continues to be the opposite of that. And again, I realize like people are yelling like, Bryce, don't be dumb. Like the people have done this all the time. They've denied it all the time. I get it. I just don't understand that tactic if Ballmer knows that what this is going to look like of all things, let alone all of the other stuff that's come out as well. And so I find myself going now, Sam, is like you said, Pablo either holding it back purposely, which is awesome, or getting it between last week and this week. I find myself going, what's next? You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, what's week 3 bring from the Pablo Torre? That's not what it's called. From his podcast.
Pablo Torre finds out. That's right. Pablo Torre finds out podcast next week. Like, are we getting something new? You know, is somebody going to come forward over the next week with something new? So I am waiting for the next shoe to drop. And, you know, I feel like this thing is definitely trending a certain way in my opinion. That's obviously not good at all for the Clippers. Again, my take on this is that we need to investigate this like very strongly and continue to go down this road of investigating and seeing where this goes. And oh, by the way, we had a press conference from Adam Silver. Adam Silver had some statements that almost made me like stop and think, okay, maybe this isn't going that way. Right. So Adam Silver at his press conference. I think the goal of a full investigation is to find out if there really was impropriety. In a public-facing sport, the public at times reaches conclusions that later turn out to be completely false. I would want anyone else in situations like Mr. Ballmer is in now, and Kawhi for that matter, to be treated the same way I would want to be treated if people were making allegations against me. We're not a court of law at the end of the day either. So, and then he also noted after that the burden of proof lies with the league if it is to punish the Clippers, Ballmer, or Leonard. So it is, to me, what I read that as is Adam Silver saying that, no, he needs proof that the Clippers did this. The Clippers are not playing defense. I mean, they sort of are the defendant here, but like, the league is not going into this investigation assuming that the Clippers did this, and that the Clippers have to come back to them and say, no, we didn't.
The burden of proof is on the league to go prove it, is what he's saying. They have to go find.
Correct.
And I didn't watch the whole press conference. Obviously, I saw different things. You know, the thing that people always bring up to us, Sam, is you mentioned it earlier, what's the term for evidence? Gosh, why am I blanking right now?
Smoking gun, burden of proof.
Not factual evidence, like not the opposite.
Circumstantial evidence.
Gosh dang, I'm so sorry. Circumstantial evidence that's in the CBA. Like, it seems like Silver completely dodged using that, like almost saying, like, because he could have very easily said, like, that's what the burden of proof was. And to me, it sounds like he's saying that they're going to be looking for more than just circumstantial evidence based off those statements.
It did sound like that to me as well. Here could be why that is. So we're going to pop a Holly here. Shout out John Hollinger. Truly one of my favorite people within basketball. John is the best. If you get to know John, like John's like one of the funniest people you will get to talk to and meet. I truly love him. So we're going to pop a Holly here. He wrote a story yesterday on what the CBA says about this stuff, right? And what he wrote is that you can see that Article 13, which is what people are coming to, makes it clear that a circumstantial case that the Clippers engaged in salary cap circumvention can be enough, right? But here's the thing. Everyone kind of talks about this like Adam Silver gets to decide this by himself. And that's not really the reality of this. This is not like the NFL where it's like Roger Goodell and that's it. According to Article 13, a third-party system arbitrator also gets to make this decision. Only if the arbitrator rules that the Clippers violated the circumvention rules in Article 13 can Silver hammer them with 2 different levels of potential guilt, right? So this is an important distinction, according to John, because the league might not have a totally overwhelming case that would convince an arbitrator that it was the more severe, which would be the Section 2 cap circumvention violation, which would give them like really broad powers to be able to punish them, right? That's the one, the Section 2 one, is the one that allows Silver to remove draft picks, void the Leonard contract, for instance, order Leonard to repay. Like there are a lot of things that could be done here. And what John kind of notes here is that the league has a circumstantial case, but not a smoking gun. A circumstantial case is likely enough to penalize the Clippers the way the CBA is written, but seems questionable as to whether or not a third-party arbitrator would produce the more severe Section 2 violation without more evidence than is currently publicly available. And that, like, he thinks there should be revisions in this moving forward. So I think that that's actually like a really important thing here to note, is that like this is not just Adam Silver who thinks of, cap circumvention as this cardinal sin across the league, deciding, yes, they did this, no, they didn't do this. Like there is another third party here that will get involved and will have to make this choice. So I think this is like, before I kind of thought that the league would try to take care of this before the season started. And like, honestly, like my theory was that they would kind of sit down with the Clippers and negotiate out a punishment. And that still might happen, honestly. Like I wouldn't be blown away by that if that was the case. Again, my take here from the top is that there is just an extremely wide delta of outcomes that could occur here based off of what we know. I just don't know how the league itself is going to look at all of this, because we don't have things to point back to, really. Like we don't have, like, the Joe Smith thing here is not like really it's not really a precedent, in my opinion. So I think that because of that, this is probably going to take a while to sort through now, is my take.
So that's what I was going to ask you. You started to go that road of saying whether you thought it was going to get done before the season or not. So do you think this ends up tracking? Do you think this clouds over the 25-26 NBA season then?
I mean, look, I'm not like I haven't asked the league office about this. So like, I don't know is the answer. If you made me guess right now, I think I would say yes. But again, we're in uncharted waters, and like I don't have an answer to it, is kind of where I'm at. And I think that people are really underestimating how uncharted these waters are in regard to, this is a really interesting case. There is a ton of evidence here, circumstantial or not, that this happened. And there's going to be a lot to sort through. And this is just going to turn into like a completely massive investigation now, I think.
Yeah, it is interesting, especially with the arbitrator. Like, do you want to take it there? Does the league want to take the chance that the arbitrator says, like, no, this doesn't meet my burden of proof, whoever that would be? Like, how bad would that be for the league if, in the court of the NBA's public opinion, the Clippers are already guilty and should just be, the hammer down? And if they went through that and the arbitrator said, no, we can't prove this, and that could be really bad whenever you put it in their hands. I also, brought up the last episode, what is the push from the other owners around the NBA to Roger Goodell and the front, the NBA in terms of
Adam Silver, but yeah.
Adam Silver, sorry. Because I would assume if a certain level of punishment comes down on the Clippers, and they know anything about anything going on around the league, that the push to investigate that is going to be stronger than, a lesser punishment. And so I just think there's multiple layers. And I think you've said that as well, is there's just multiple layers to it. And that's why it seems like coming to a quick decision doesn't seem likely when you have to investigate it. And then again, if this goes to a third party to make a decision, who knows?
It's kind of where I'm at. Like, I just don't know I don't know how all of the parties here are going to see all of this information. And that makes it really, really difficult for me to kind of parse through, sort through, figure out where this is going to land. I think there's enough here to punish them, if I'm being completely honest. I think there's probably enough here to take draft picks. I don't know if there's enough here to be like, we're voiding the Leonard contract. We are, stripping trying to strip Steve Ballmer of the team, et cetera, right? Like, I don't really think I'm there. Like, I honestly, I don't know if I'm there or not. I would like this investigation to like just continue on and see where we land. I do think that we're at the point now where there's kind of enough to punish them in some respect, though.
So to your point, that's why the investigation needs to continue until you get everything, is because that's going to tell you the level of punishment. Like if you do get more, where all of a sudden it comes out the $50 million from Ballmer, there is a piece of paper out there, or there's an email or a text message or something like that, because then I do think you get into situations of like, how severe. I'm with you. I don't think like taking the team from Ballmer is something I would, whatever the NBA decides, I don't think that's something I would go down. And we've also talked about, I don't think either of us love the idea of voiding the Kawhi contract in general, right? And like essentially he just becomes a free agent, because that opens up a whole nother aspect of things. I think I like the suspension route more than the void his contract route, but I don't know. So I think you have to get to the bottom of everything before we really start talking about punishment, because more out there could cause there to be more severity. I'm more comfortable with the severity of a punishment today than I was 4 days ago, so who knows where we could be in 4 months of a full investigation into everything.
And here's the other thing too. Like, again, the Clippers are pretty strong in their denial. The Clippers feel like seemingly they have an email chain that says that they introduced Kawhi after they gave Kawhi the deal to Aspiration. We'll see where it goes. You know what I mean? Like, I'm willing to hear out their case for it. It's just that this is a very strong preponderance of evidence at this point, kind of saying all of these things. And I think I am no longer this one that Pablo released today is like pretty compelling to me. This is like a pretty real, in my opinion, paper trail of sorts, even if it is like a circumstantial paper trail, I guess. But like this one is really hard for me to explain in a real way.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Okay, so the other thing from the Adam Silver press conference, that's all we got right now on the Kawhi thing. That's really all I want to kind of go with. The other thing from the Adam Silver press conference that really got people annoyed, including me, by the way.
Same.
Is he was asked, it's become very expensive to watch the NBA as a fan, not just going to games, but also in order to watch. There's different streaming services you have to subscribe to. Some of the RSNs are expensive. I know that there are other points of entry for fans to interact with the NBA. There's social media and a lot of younger fans, and that's how they're experiencing the sport. But I wonder how much you think about that and how that will shape the generation or the next generation of fans. He said, I think about it a lot. I will say I saw the story your publication ran. You look at all the different streaming services and added them up and what those costs would be. I look at it a little bit differently because most people can only consume so many games. By way of one example, in these new media deals, we're going from essentially 15 exposures on broadcast television to 75. So to the extent someone wants to put little rabbit ears on their television, you can still get 75 marquee games in essence for free in the marketplace. I'd say in addition to that, This is an ongoing issue for the league. There's huge amount of content that people essentially consume for free. This is very much a highlights-based sport. So Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, you name it, any service, the New York Times for that matter, to the extent that your content is not behind a pay firewall. I don't know what a pay firewall is. There's an enormous amount of content out there. YouTube, another example that is advertising based that consumers can consume. I think this is a new world of streaming media. I think we're paying a lot of attention to that. It was one of the discussions we had with our media partners, not just the cost of the games. And I think most people are conditioned to paying a certain amount for high value content, but also the discovery of those games. And really, I'm just kind of reading all of this to give Adam the benefit of the doubt as much as I can. But like, what in the world is that quote? The NBA has like a significant problem with people being able to consume full games. They just do. It's hard to be able to get them. It's hard to be able to find them all the time. A lot of people just don't watch NBA full games. You look at the ratings, for instance. The ratings went up last year, which is great. And I think that the ratings are not as bad as other people do. I've been on that boat for 5 years now, while everyone, would shout from the rooftops that things are cratering and things are terrible. Well, no, it's still like the second best thing that you can probably buy into right now outside of the NFL. Maybe the third best outside of the NFL and college football, in all honesty. So like, you still have that, but in the window where the NBA is at its most valuable, which is essentially from January, maybe late or early February until June, it is by far the most valuable thing in the marketplace, right? So I think that this makes total sense. It is still a premium product. But man, like, have like a pulse for the league. Like, I get that, the NBA, you can get a lot of highlights, right? But to say this is very much a highlights-based sport is fucking crazy, Bryce. That is craziness to me.
Well, it bothered me because it's like I almost feel it's anti what this show is about, right? Like, we are like about not the highlights. We want you to watch the intricacies of the game and learn the game and understand the game better. And you know how you can't do that, Sam? You can't do that from highlights. Here's immediately what I thought. I was like, Adam Silver, that comment made me think he wants my 7th grade students to watch. Like, that's who he's talking to right now, because that's all they know. And you would be amazed at who my students talk about in the NBA. It's not Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, because he doesn't have a highlight. He's not the highlight reel on TikTok. It's not even Jokic a whole lot. He's not the highlight reel on TikTok. Like, I just looked through like the top of the MVP last year, and I'm like, how many of these guys are the first thing you think is like super highlighty level player? And like, you can't promote the guys you want to promote. You're not going to promote the best players in your game. And I kind of felt bad, because I don't think about this a whole lot, because I have access to games in a way that most people don't. I almost never watch a game live. The only time I do is in the playoffs, when we're going to record right after. I always watch the games after the fact. I download them. I don't have to deal with commercials. It's just the way the amount of games we have to watch. I can't watch a game live. It's a waste of time. Like, for me and what we're trying to do, it just was like, it was so the opposite of what I hear people screaming for all the time, which is games and understanding the game and appreciating the game and watching the game. And maybe this isn't what Silver meant, but it was like, no, let's celebrate the dunks and the steals and the highlight stuff. And I'm like, come on. Like, that's the complete opposite of what you want your game to. You need some of that, but I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way, and maybe I'm old man, get off my lawn, but I didn't appreciate at least the phrasing that he used, even if it's not what he meant.
Well, and this is what that made me think more than anything. I think that when it comes to how people consume the game, the NBA tends to be reactive to how its consumers consume the game and how its media partners go about producing their content for the games, as opposed to the NFL, which I think takes a lot more of an active, seemingly, approach in how like content is produced by its media partners for the game. And I think that the NFL drives more of a content, quote unquote, plan, even via just back channel conversations and everything, on how its media partners cover the game. Whereas I think the NFL is proactive, I think the NBA is reactive to what it's seeing. And that is just not the way to run a league, in my opinion. Make people understand why your league is so special.
Yeah.
Don't sit there and be like, oh, a bunch of the kids on TikTok are watching our games. We're getting all these views and all these clips and things like that. Great. No. Empower the voices that show why the game of basketball and why the basketball being played at the highest level is so special. Make them understand why the NBA is a better product than college basketball. There are still a lot of people that think that college basketball is a more enjoyable, better product than the NBA. No. Make your case why that's not true. Make them understand why your players are the most skilled, talented, gifted human beings in the world at what they do. And I just do not think the NBA does that. I just do not think that the NBA does nearly a good enough job of empowering. And I think it's that they let their media partners just kind of do whatever. And you look at ESPN, I mean, I'll just say it. Like, I think ESPN's NBA coverage is not good enough. There are great people working at ESPN. Tim Legler is fucking fantastic. Like, I like Richard Jefferson more than some people do. Like, I think Richard Jefferson does like a pretty good job. I think Doris Burke does a great job. I can go and point to people that I think do an amazing job. But the problem is that a lot of the loudest voices on the NBA side don't always do the best job of explaining why the league is. And beyond that, you look at the NFL side, like, who is like the Mina Kimes on the NBA side that's like actually breaking down film on the network's biggest partner, saying, hey, this is what's going on, this is what's happening. It's Tim, probably, but like beyond Tim, like who is it? Because they have like 5 or 6 people that do it. Like Dan Orlovsky does it. You know, I think Marcus Spears does a really good job of being able to talk through things. Like, I can point to so many more voices on the NFL side that do such a good job of explaining why the NFL is such a great league than I can on the NBA side with its strongest TV partner. And I think that that's a problem.
It's funny you say this, because I think what it comes down to, like, Mancast, people, I mean, listen, I only watch the Chiefs. That's all I have time for. But I think people tune into the Manningcast because, like, you learn things, right? Those guys are entertaining, but you learn things. When you watch a Romo broadcast, it's like you learn something. You look for little cues, stuff like. I don't remember the last time I did. I think people think NBA players just go out there and they run around and they don't play defense and there's no intricacies and little details. I mean, Sam, I think some people think, like, even what you and I do and the way we talk about the game is only for like the diehards. I don't believe that. I've gotten more
look at NFL Live on ESPN. Like, they do this stuff.
Yes.
It's pretty wild.
and there is that level of stuff in the NBA. Like, listen, I coach high school football still because I love the intricacies of the football, the game of football. And it is different than basketball. But I'm telling you, there's intricacies that people want to know. And what I was going to say is I've gotten more compliments from people that would quote unquote call themselves casuals that said, thank you, Bryce, for helping me understand what I'm watching, more than people that are diehards saying, oh, I think those people like it. But even the quote unquote just casual NBA fan, and for me, it's mostly Pistons fans because that's where my video stuff comes from. But I've gotten more of those kind messages from people who said, oh, now I understand why this happens. Now I understand why that happened. Or now I can watch for this in future games. And then it's more enjoyable to watch it, right? Because you know what you're looking for. You know why has something happened. I've talked to somebody in the front office. I think this would be an awesome idea about like, hey, what if you like took a content creator and put them with an assistant coach on a team and they work together and showed the fan base like, hey, you guys think it's so easy to do this? Well, this is what we're trying to like inform your fan base what you're trying to, I mean, within reason, right? Like you can't give away, secrets to, help opponents, but I think the fan bases, the NBA fans, and not just the diehards, but the quote unquote, and I don't mean this in a negative way, casuals, they want that. And I think they'd want it during a broadcast too, Sam. I want them to draw up some real, like, don't just draw up flex, like, draw up some real stuff during the game and show me what's going on, why it's happening, and why they scored 30 in the second quarter and 12 in the third. How did they shut SGA down in the fourth? Like, draw it out on there for me and let's really see it. I think people would eat it up.
I think so too. Yeah, I totally agree. I think people would. So it is, it was a pretty infuriating comment. And I get the point that he was making. I think he just talked too long was kind of the issue, just to be real with it. Like, if he just keeps it as simple as saying like, hey, last year we had about 15 windows for free to air broadcast games. This year we have 75. Like, we're really trying to cater to the fans. We're really trying to create more free to air broadcast opportunities for people to see full games. It's a great answer. It's a good answer to that question. Like, hey, like, we just literally 5x the amount that people are going to be able to see free to air by doing this TV deal. That's pretty good, right? But yeah, man, like, just to continue to talk yourself into just that catastrophic answer is so frustrating. And I'm all for highlights being available. Like, I think it's really valuable. It's really useful for people. But man, like, I just think we got to do better.
And I will say this, the one thing I've always appreciated about the NBA, and I guess college basketball as well, is their allowance of people like me to use their content. I mean, I would not be here if I wasn't, didn't have access to the content, and then they didn't allow me to put it on, YouTube and stuff like that. Cause I've mistakenly done it during the Olympics and it got shut down. Like, they took it off. I think I posted something on Twitter and it was like, no.
FIBA's really funky with that stuff.
FIBA was like, no. And I mean, I get it, but I have always appreciated that about the NBA, that they allow, someone like me to take the content, put my voice over it, put my drawings over it, and, have, conversations around it. And I truly believe, I mean, not me, but in general, it helps expand their game. It helps them grow their, like, that's the social media stuff he should be promoting, is that type of stuff that people like me, the people that are way better at it than me, are putting out there, because those are the people that are truly growing their game in a positive way. Not the 60-second highlight reels. Those are fine. They're consumed. But even if he just would have mentioned a little bit of, you're right, he should have stopped. He should have put a period and moved on. But just like saying the word highlight league just is like something that it resonated with me in a very negative way.
It's tough. It wasn't even just highlight league. It was that a highlight based sport.
Highlight-based sport.
Like,
yeah.
Man, I don't know, man. Like, I think he likes basketball. Like, don't get me wrong, but like, it raised some questions for me. I didn't like it. Okay, we're going to go to Prize Picks now. Shout out our good friends over at Prize Picks. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Even you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. And man, it is football season, and I am so excited about the fact that we get to watch all of these games. It is fantastic, and Prize Picks makes it simple and fun to experience watching football on Saturdays and Sundays. Look, we're going to call out some picks here. We're going to go for it, right? Tonight, we've got Packers and Commanders. Goodness, I almost used the other word there. That was bad. Packers and Commanders. And wouldn't you know it, Prize Picks has a great little special right now where you can get Josh Jacobs over 0.5 touchdowns, and Terry McLaurin over 34.5 yards. I also don't mind Bill Krosky-Merritt. Shout out, Bill. If you're a fantasy football guy, you are well aware of Bill right now. He's over 40.5 for his yardage total. That's about what he had last week, even taking away his big 40-yard run that he had late in the game. I think we're going to tie those three together, guys. That's what we're rolling with. Rolling with over for Bill, over in touchdowns for Josh Jacobs, and over 34.5 for Terry McLaurin. That feels like a strong number tonight. We'll see if we do well. But PrizePicks is simple to play. You just pick more or less on those player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. PrizePicks is the best way to get sports action in more than 40 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. PrizePicks puts its users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, secure. It offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. It's just the best way to win cash this football season. Whatever players are going off, which ones aren't, you can make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long. Download the app today and use the code GAMETHEORY to get $50 instantly in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code GAMETHEORY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Second sponsor today, shout out to our friends over at Trade Coffee. As the days cool down, and man, it is cold right now here in Australia, Bryce. My coffee routine shifts. We're going with comforting warm mugs like this one I've got here. Went with a nice little warm coffee this morning. Refreshing iced coffee sometimes in the sunny afternoons. And no matter the season, hot or cold, Trade is always going to recommend the beans that I will love, roast them to order, and deliver them right to my door. Trade is the #1 coffee destination in the U.S. for both hot and cold coffee drinkers. They've sourced the best beans from over 50 top roasters in the U.S. For cold brew lovers, they've teamed up with 15 roasters to create a special collection made just for cold brew. So every cup comes out smooth and delicious every time. Important as we get into those summer months, obviously. They even have easy-to-use curated gear so you can brew at home with better flavor. Even if you don't have an espresso machine like I do here at the house, they will make it easy for you with the gear that they are able to send you. It's going to give you better flavor and value than any cafe or bottled cold brew. Trade's prices are on par with grocery store brands, but the quality is next level, whether it's smooth cold brew or a cozy hot cup to start your day. Plus, you're supporting local roasters with every cup. It's a win-win for everybody. You just take their quiz, and in under a minute, they'll recommend coffees you'll love. If that first bag isn't quite right, no problem. Trade will replace it for free until they nail it. Again, Trade is just fantastic. They make it so easy to get super, super high level coffee. The quiz is actually really intuitive, and it does a really good job of pairing you with the right coffee. I really just can't emphasize how much we really enjoy Trade here at Game Theory. They do such an amazing job with their product. Right now, Trade is offering 50% off a 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/game. That's DRINKTRADE.com/game, GAME. That's drinktrade.com/game to get 50% off 1 month. Okay, Bryce, time to talk about something fun. Josh Giddey, on the last episode that we talked about restricted free agency, we were just sitting here and we were saying that 400 is the deal that makes the most sense. I think we've been saying that for months at this point. The 400 is the deal that makes the most sense for everybody. Let's just do 400, right?
Let's do it.
And wouldn't you know it, Josh Giddey has signed a contract for $100 million. 4 years, $100 million. It is a deal that makes sense, I think, for everybody across the board. And we'll talk about why as we go through it. There are no player, no team options. It's fully guaranteed. Josh Giddey is now a Chicago Bull for the next 4 years, at least under contract there. Bryce, what was your thought when we saw this?
first and foremost, we're one more away from I might just hang it up, Sam. So I don't know who is on deck for. I wouldn't uphold the lineage of your co-host on this podcast, but if I go 3 for 3 in predictions with these restricted free agents and Jonathan Kuminga gets traded to the Kings, I may just have to call it quits. So, no, I mean, this always made a ton of sense. I think we talked about, for Giddey, it's just like, can you get to $100 million? Can you say you got $100 million? That's where they ended up. I think Chicago, Giddey had a little bit of leverage. You traded Alex Caruso for him. So, any sort of situation where he potentially walks out of there for nothing, it just didn't seem feasible. So I think this is a decent number for him. Giddey had a really good season last year in Chicago. We've talked about it. The end of the season was incredible. This could look awesome if Giddey really proves to be good enough. Giddey's only going into age 23 season. If the jumper really grows, if the defense continues to improve, this could end up being a really good deal. But I don't think this ends up being a bad deal for Chicago. Like, worst thing for Chicago is you have Giddey on $25 million, and even if they ever went full rebuild, I still don't think he's a bad player to have on your roster with your young guys. He gets other people the ball. He passes it really well. He fills up the box score. So I think this is a fine deal for the Bulls. And, Josh Giddey gets $100 million.
So Josh Giddey over the entirety of last season, 14.6 points, 8 rebounds, 7.2 assists versus 2.9 turnovers, shot 46.5, 37.8, 78.1. But really, the thing that they're paying him for is not the full season numbers. They're paying him because of how he closed the season.
Yep.
If you look at his final 25 games last year, Josh Giddey averaged 20.2 points, 9.5 rebounds, 8.1 assists versus 3.1 turnovers, also 1.4 steals and 0.8 blocks, shooting 49, 45, 80. Obviously, the 45% from three is not going to hold. That's the reality. It just is what it is. But if you get that kind of production from Josh Giddey, you're going to laugh to the bank with this deal, right? Now, the question with Giddey is, and always has been, what does he look like on a winning team? We saw him with Oklahoma City. I think that situation was uniquely challenging to fit his skill set into because they had 2 all-NBA caliber ball handlers in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams. And we can, I guess, say that J-Dub was not quite there yet in terms of all-NBA status in his second season, but we knew or at least I did, and Oklahoma City knew that that's where it was going. So that resulted in Josh playing more off of the ball. What Josh now has to prove is that he can be an on-ball player who can help you consistently win games. I think that he is a better bet to do that than seemingly a lot of people do, maybe. I get the consternation about the shooting. I think that there is just going to be a delta between what he shoots year over year in all likelihood. He shot 38% over the full season last year because he had that crazy hot finish to the year. I would guess that the shooting percentage is probably going to come somewhere between 33 and 38% this year. And that's a big number. That's a big delta to have to work within if you're a team, right? But if he can iron that out a little bit even, it becomes just a lot easier to work with him on your team, especially if he can iron out the catch and shoot. Because if he can catch and shoot, things get very easy to work him into an offense because you don't have to play him as much on the ball at the end of the day. Right now, I think you do kind of have to play him on the ball because I don't think teams trust him or teams treat him maybe as a shooter. Teams will just leave him open. The other thing that Josh does pretty well, I think, is when teams leave him open, he will drive, he will carve out space, and will try to force help defense, right? But right now, I think that what a lot of teams do when you play him off of the ball is they will just put a center on him. and they will say, okay, we're going to absorb the contact. He doesn't really have an in-between game in terms of like a pull-up mid-range jumper that's effective. He really has to get into that like 8 to 10 foot range to even be able to get to the floater that he likes. So we can just put a big on him and kind of cut off angles from everybody else. And if he does get the ball and does drive into me, cool. That's it. Like, we're all good. So there's some growth here that he has to undertake undeniably. That's why I think that this is probably the right number. Anything more than this, I think that the number in the risk factor would have fallen more on the Bulls side.
Yep.
Anything less than this, I would have said, I think that there's probably a little bit more upside for Giddey at the end of the day to like way overperform this contract. And there'd be like immense upside for the Bulls, right? I think 25 is just kind of the right number here that kind of puts the risk equally on both sides with this, right? Like, okay, maybe he ends up being like, you know, the 20th best point guard in the league, 25th best point guard in the league. And he gets your guys organized and is a great transition player, a fantastic transition passer, but it's kind of harder to make him work in a winning situation. You can kind of get away with paying that guy 25 on your team as long as he's like helping younger guys develop, which is a huge factor here for Chicago, I think. But more than that, like, he's a younger guy.
No, like,
he is still 22 years old.
Yeah.
Like, he is so young.
Yeah. No, like, that was kind of my point, was you're paying at that money. If the worst case is Josh Giddey helps Modest develop and Essengay develop and whoever else they bring in over the next couple of years because he has the ball in his hands and he orchestrates the offense and allows them to do what they do best, you know, like, it's not ideal, but it's not like a waste. Like, you didn't just completely, while having the upside of this guy could turn into a real starting caliber player for us if and when we ever get serious about building out a team that's a real contender. I'm glad you brought up like the off the ball stuff, because I don't know that I believe, even at his age, Josh Giddey is ever the guy that you say, hey, that's the guy with his ball, with the ball in his hands, like, for us exclusive. Like, he's the number one engine driver of our offense throughout the playoffs. And if he's not that guy, the guy that you do bring in to eventually be that, whoever it is, a young guy on the roster, down the road, whatever, Giddey has to be able to play off of that player. And a lot of that comes down to the shooting, which you highlighted. The other thing I'll say in terms of, you know, something that's brought about with Giddey and, you know, in Oklahoma City was, what about being a sixth man? Like, how good could he be as a sixth man? This is elite sixth man money, but because of that, like, I think it makes it fine. Like, I think if you bring in Josh Giddey off the bench, you're feeling pretty good. And I do wonder if he could, do you think Giddey could be the sixth man for like a real playoff, like be the ball handler, the second unit ball handler for a really good, like, title contender type team?
Yes. Second unit ball handler. Yes. But I don't know if that makes him a particularly great, like, sixth man. If teams still don't feel like they have to guard him, because the best sixth men in the NBA are guys that can play with the team's best players, right? And that's, I think, what Josh still has to prove a little bit, is that he can play with great players with him and not have everything kind of revolve around his own skill set, right?
So it's an overpay in that role, but it's not so, I don't think we're going to be looking at this in 2 years, even if Giddey's numbers don't really grow or take a huge leap, and be like, oh my gosh, like, can't believe that they have him on the books for this number. I don't feel like we're going to be going there. I
don't think so either.
I suppose it's possible. And I think there could be like, hey, this is a neutral contract, maybe slightly negative. But like you said, there's also an outcome here where it's like, hey, Chicago has Josh Giddey on a great contract right now because he's figured out how to knock down the catch and shoot and cut and offensive rebound along with everything he does on the ball. And that's really exciting to go along with players A, B, and C, whether it's Modest or whoever else. Like, I mean, that's a whole different side we always talk about with the Bulls. I don't know what else Chicago's doing here, but I tend to not mind this specific move in terms of this contract.
I do just want to note one thing on Chicago while we're talking about this. They are very clearly investing substantially in just big athletic dudes, right? Like, I feel like more than anything, like that's what their front office seems to be valuing right now is just big, skilled human beings, or like skilled, so we'll see what Essengay is, right? But like the idea of them drafting Modest Buzelis and Noah Essengay back to back, paying Josh Giddey after acquiring him for Alex Caruso. Obviously, they invested significant resources into Patrick Williams, who that's a bad idea, but whatever. They drafted Dalen Terry, who is a guy that I'm not sure is very good, but is 6'6", 7-foot wingspan, super long. Like, idea is that he's a 3-and-D. Isaac Okoro, the idea is he's like a 6'5" with a 6'10" wingspan, 3-and-D guy. Even like Kobe White is like a big, like fairly big lead initiator. It's somewhere between 6'4" and 6'5", right? They're just going to be a very big team. And that's like that's a really interesting strategy to me. Like, you're very clearly going to be trying to shrink the court in some way, shape, or form with all of these long athletic bodies. I don't hate it, I think is where I'm at. Like, I don't know if the players that they've drafted are good enough to like really move the needle on an NBA wide sense, right? Like, I think Modest is going to be like a good player for sure. Like, he's probably going to be a starter. I'm not as high on the upside with him just because I don't know about the ball handling. I don't think he plays with a lot of bend and a lot of flex. We'll see if that ends up being wrong. Essengay, again, just like very high hips, a player that I'm not, quite as high on as some of the internet seem to be, but whatever. I do like, though, that they at least have a vision that they seem to be going down now. Like, you can agree or disagree with the vision, but there is at least a vision here, which is something that we can't say Chicago has had, frankly, for quite a long time.
Yeah, it's interesting that they've put these players. I think Giddey fits that style. Obviously, get up and down, play fast, the length, the athleticism. To me, I just look at the roster and I'm like, over the next couple of years, to me, the biggest hole is the star, right? Who is your number one offensive engine, scorer, whatever you want to call it? Because, I mean, I love Kobe White, but I don't think he's that guy. So, and, they have some real contract decisions to make in terms of him. And then what are they going to do with Vooch? But I think the other spot is, can you go find the center that fills that as well? Like, can you put a big man in there? Because no matter, like, Vooch is entering age 35 season. He's not the future of this. So I'm interested to see how they can build out that roster, because if you gave me a number one scoring option on that team and you gave me a big man that I really believed in that fit that system, and then you have Josh Giddey and Modest and what people think Noah Essengay might be, even though I'm not super high on it, that's kind of interesting all of a sudden, and not a fun team to play against that's going to be long and athletic and play fast. So, again, I don't know if I trust them to finish this thing out, but to your point, it seems like there is somewhat of a development of a vision and a path for this team moving forward. Now you have to execute it.
Yep. Okay. Overall, like, I think we're pretty positive on the Giddey deal, though. Like, I think it's a deal that makes sense. He needs to improve on defense. He does need to improve the shot. I know that the shot numbers look better last year. We'll see if that holds, right? Like, it might not. We'll see. But by and large, I am generally pretty good. I think that this is the right deal.
Yeah.
I think is what I would say.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, but they still need, like, I agree with you. They still need the massive upside swing.
Yes.
And maybe that
yes.
comes this year. Like maybe they're just not great this year. And I think they would welcome that. Like, you start at the end of the season, if there's, 30 and 50 or whatever, and they're starting Josh, Essengay, Modest, a shooter at the 2, and then, hopefully they've moved Vooch at the deadline and they just have, maybe it's honestly like Jalen Smith at the 5 in order to get some spacing. And maybe you've moved Sumu at the deadline or something. And, obviously like Kobe White could still be there as well. Kobe White would be a totally sensible 2 to start next to Josh. Like we'll see what they do with Kobe. Kobe's an unrestricted free agent this year. I think that is something that's kind of gone a little bit under the radar because of the way that, they structured his deal coming off of that big close to his 4th season. He has $12.8 million. So it's probably unextendable if you made me guess. I would guess he'll want more than 20 a year. He averaged 20.4 points, shooting 45, 37, 90 last year, and was really good at the end of the year again, too, once they had moved certainly Levine. So I just don't totally know if they end up keeping him, or does he look to move? Like we think Kobe White is. Do we think Kobe White is better or worse than Cam Thomas?
So I was just thinking that because I was like, while we say that Kobe White, whatever numbers you want to throw out, we've seen these guys get squeezed a little bit, and we've seen the league, be a little bit more nervous on giving them certain numbers. Is there a world where you could talk Kobe into, especially if you could get the years on it, where Kobe White locking in a number actually makes more sense? Because you do have Cam Thomas hitting the market next offseason. And, how many teams are in the market for that type of play? Now they're not the same, but the idea a little bit is the same, like an off ball, a scoring guard. I know they do it in different ways. I understand it, but I don't know. It'll be interesting. This is the archetype we talk about all the time that I'm fascinated to see. There's one in Detroit that, again, is a different type of player than these two guys that I'm fascinated to see what the market is and what the value is. Because it seems like if you're not like a true bucket getter that's a number 1, number 2 option, then the NBA is starting to change their thoughts on you and how much money they want to give you.
Kobe White in his last 30 games last year, 24 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists versus 2.3 turnovers, shot 48, 39, 92.
Sounds good.
And got to the line 6 times a game. Kobe is
underrated.
I think Kobe is ahead of Cam Thomas right now in the pecking order. So if you're looking at, okay, who gets paid, who doesn't next summer, I think that if I was Cam Thomas's representation, I'd be like, or if I was Kobe White's, I'm sorry, I would be like, I feel pretty good about where
you have a pretty good argument, right? And if you're Cam Thomas, this is something we never brought up, but it's like, man, if Kobe White hits the market, are we in a little bit of trouble? How many of these type of players are going to get signed next off? They'll get signed, but to the deals that they're wanting, right? To real deals. So,
well, it is interesting, if only just because you look at, who's going to be available next summer, right? There actually are weirdly some unrestricted free agent, smaller, guards kind of, right? Like
Austin
Reeves, Kobe White, Cam Thomas, these guys are all right now, I think 25 and under. Is Reeves 26 maybe? Might be 26 now, but then, I mean, God knows what happens with Trae Young, right? He still has a player option that he could exercise and hit the market if he wants to. And you could really look up and see quite a few, 20s free agents where Anthony Simons is 27 in the summer. So Anthony Simons is probably ahead of Cam Thomas in the pecking order right now.
Reeves is 28, but just to add to it as well, Norm Powell. This is much older, but like Norm Powell's going to be one.
Yeah.
Colin Sexton right now is due to hit the market as an unrestricted free agent. Yeah.
There are a lot of names there.
Yeah.
On that like guard market, which is really, really interesting.
That is interesting. Yep.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think if I was Kobe White, like I'd feel pretty good about where I'm at going into this season and feel like I could have like a really good walk season. They could force the Bulls' hand, certainly. You know, they can pay him more than anybody else, but could position me with another team to really set myself up for a big payday.
Sure.
So, you know, the Kobe White factor is fascinating for them now moving forward. And I would imagine that he could be one of the premier trade targets at the deadline. And I know Bulls fans don't want to hear that. Like they just want to re-sign him, but you know, if they feel like it's not going some way, like they might, you know, it might really behoove them to take a look at the market.
Sure.
So we'll see. Okay. Couple of injuries I want to talk about here. So Dylan Harper, unfortunately, has suffered an injury.
Yeah.
This just like kind of sucks, I think, which, you know, what can you do? Dylan Harper has a wrist injury that will force him out at least for training camp, it feels like. I'm pulling it up while we talk. But
Thumb, right? It was thumb. A ligament in his thumb?
I thought it was a wrist, but I think you might be right that it's thumb.
Yeah.
But what I think that what this does, so he had thumb surgery. You are correct. In his left thumb. And it puts like his early season in jeopardy at the very least. They're saying that he's probably going to be back for the start of the year, which is great. I think more than anything, what this did was it like locked in a very easy decision for San Antonio to bring him off the bench early.
Sure.
Like I thought that there's a real chance he would push for a starting role with that team early on, and they would have to make some decisions. But now I think this kind of clears the board a little bit for them and gives Steph Castle a little bit of runway early in the season to let it rock, and then gives Dylan Harper like the ability to come off the bench and maybe run the second unit and just really get a chance to do that. I'm genuinely really interested to see how they handle this though.
And for any, like, I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence here. Dylan Harper's left-handed. For anybody who like hasn't watched him, isn't super into the NBA draft or, you know, whatever. So like, you know, if this was his right thumb, it would be you know, I'm sure he'd still have to get surgery and all that, but this is his shooting hand for Dylan Harper. So yeah, I hadn't thought of that angle, Sam, but that makes a lot of sense where it sounds like he could miss training camp. Sounds like definitely some of it. And maybe is getting back right for the start of the season. To me, I don't think San Antonio has any reason to push this. So, you know, if they're not sure if he's in shape, if it's taking him a little bit longer to get his jumper back because he hasn't been able to get shots up, you know, whatever it is, whatever the timeline ends up being. But we had talked about some of the decisions of the De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper, Steph Castle situation. I don't even know if this is a silver lining. This obviously sucks in all ways for Harper and the Spurs, but it may allow for an easier decision there, especially to start the season and hash some things out in terms of bringing him off the bench. So, that seems to track for me as you bring that up in terms of then you go what? Fox, Castle, Vassell, Barnes, Victor, and then bring Harper off the bench. Yeah.
I think that's just kind of simple. I think that's like the easiest way to make this work early in the year. And then for some like secondary ball handling, you can have Keldon come off the bench with Dylan if you want. Or you could start Keldon and bring Vassell off the bench. Like that. I wouldn't recommend that necessarily, but I'm just like kind of bringing up that they have some options here.
Could this open up? I can hear Spurs fans yelling at me. Could this open up Sohan starting now, since you like have Vassell in there, a little bit more scoring, shooting with Vassell? I mean, does that open up for him where like, because if you had Harper and Castle playing off the ball, I think you'd have real floor spacing concerns. Does it maybe open it up to that? Or do you think Barnes' just ability to knock down corner threes keeps him in the starting lineup as opposed to a Sohan?
I would imagine that it's probably something of a can't battle, but like I would guess it's Barnes, to be honest. Like that's a guess on it. Just because like you never know if guys get better, guys get worse, right? But like Harrison Barnes literally started every single game last year for San Antonio. So like I think it's probably safe to assume that Barnes is like the safer bet maybe to start. And then, you're talking Barnes and Wemby in the front court, Castle, obviously Fox. And then I would guess it's Vassell over like the Champagny Keldon Johnson group. And then off the bench, you're probably looking at Harper, Keldon,
This is where it gets
Olynyk, Cornette,
and Sohan.
and
Like
then
that's
Sohan.
that's where it gets
Yeah.
interesting. Like I was like, man, this front court all of a sudden. It's crowded in a good way. Like I like these players, but it's kind of interesting to see how they're gonna hash out minutes, Sam, because we just went 10 deep.
I think they just run 10 deep and it's fine, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, and these guys will get to play, but like Champagny's not in that 10 deep. The other rookie's not in that, Carter Bryant's not in that 10 deep. And I think that's okay.
I'm assuming Carter Bryant's in Austin to start the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And eventually, and there will be games, guys miss games, all of that. I think the 10 deep is interesting to me now without it. With Sohan, Olynyk, and Cornette all not starting, it will be interesting to see how like you stagger minutes and stuff if those three are in your 10 deep and all coming off the bench. Like that was the only thing. It's not a huge deal. It's just an interesting conversation is all.
Yeah. No, and look, here's the other thing. This team weirdly still remains ripe for a consolidation deal.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
They're just like, that's kind of what it seems like they're setting up for, is that they have a lot of bodies. You can eventually consolidate some of these contracts into another star player to put next to Fox and Wemby. And that's really interesting on its face to me as well. You have the expiring deals, like Olynyk and Barnes are $33 million almost in expiring money. And then on top of it, like Sohan is also expiring money. Like you can get to 40 if you don't extend him. So you can really go pretty aggressively on the market if you want to this deadline.
It's funny. They actually, how often do we do trades where we're looking for teams that can stack the right numbers together? And, like I'm not saying Vassell, but like Vassell's at 27, Barnes is at 19 on an expiring, Keldon's at 17 and a half, only has 2 years left. You mentioned Olynyk at 13. Cornette, again, he's not trade eligible till December. I don't think they're moving him, but like he's at 11. Sohan, like they just have a lot of numbers in a range that sometimes teams don't have when you start looking to make those moves. So it does seem like they have the right contracts and the right numbers to get there if they did decide to bring in another guy to go with De'Aaron and Victor.
Yeah. In addition to that, Thomas Sorber has torn his ACL. He will miss the season for Oklahoma City this year. Second straight player that will miss an entire season after being drafted in the top 20 by the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't know. Like I'm surprised that this has happened because, nobody expects somebody to just tear an ACL in the middle of off-season workouts. I'm sure that Sorber and the Thunder are incredibly bummed about this because I'm sure that they wanted the developmental time for Sorber with the blue, I guess in Oklahoma City with the blue. And like they were excited, I'm sure, for him to be around guys like Hartenstein and Chet. That's still real. Like that he's still going to get to be around those guys, maybe even more now than he would have been previously. But the big thing for Sorber now is like as a heavier guy, I think he really needs to make sure that like he stays locked in on staying in shape, doesn't let himself balloon up at all, really like hones in as much as he can on his diet and makes sure that like when he's good to start doing workouts again at a high level, I think that you need to be able to like really start to roll in that regard.
Yeah, and what's tough for him as well is he had the turf toe in college. He played his last college game on February 15th. And so you're talking about a guy who now, hadn't gotten fully back yet, or like he didn't play at summer league or anything like that from that. So, and then he tears his ACL, obviously had like gotten on the court and all of that. And then this unfortunately happens. But now you're talking, I mean, the first time we're going to see him is probably at summer league next year. And so I think that's 17 months, Sam, without playing what I would, organized basketball. I'm sure he'll get into 5-on-5s and all of that in practice or whatever. But that's just a long time away from the game for a young player. And so I think when you talk about development of somebody like him, who was a freshman, who didn't get his full freshman year, who's now not getting his rookie year, I guess my thing is to already temper expectations for what will end up being, quote unquote, his rookie year. A year from now is like, guys, remember, I'll have to remind myself, it's been 17 months since this dude has got to play a competitive basketball game. It's going to take a little bit of time for him. So it's super unfortunate for Thomas Sorber.
It is. It's really, really unfortunate. He is going to miss a ton of developmental time as a younger dude. It sucks. It really, really sucks. And we hope the best for him. I mean, he's just like such a nice kid, like unbelievable, like personality too. Look, he wasn't going to play this year. Like we need to be very upfront about that.
Sure. Yeah.
There was never a point where they were going to be like, let's run out Sorber. But from a developmental perspective,
correct,
like having this time would have been really valuable, I think.
Yeah, because I think you can look at the Thunder, like we've talked about this with Hartenstein on a club option. I'm not saying he was the direct replacement. They also, they have other guys on their roster as well. But you could see like the vision for a couple years from now, him becoming one of the rotational bigs for this team. And I guess my thing now is like, he's a year behind that, obviously, right? And so it may be 2-3 years. The developmental time is such a huge factor, especially for a young big.
Yeah. The last thing I want to bring up here before we get out of here is just obviously Quentin Grimes still a free agent. Sixers are still trying to figure some things out. Jake Fisher did report that all summer, seemingly, the 76ers have been trying to move Kelly Oubre and or Andre Drummond in order to just get a little bit of space. It is interesting to me that they're trying to just get off those deals, potentially. I would imagine that like the Drummond one, they're just genuinely trying to get off of the Drummond deal. Like they will probably attach picks to be able to do so. The Oubre one is more interesting to me because Kelly is not a bad player. Kelly is like definitely an NBA rotation player. He averaged 15.6 rebounds, 2 assists per game last year, shot 47% from the field, 75% from the line. Very inconsistent 3-point shooter, but a guy that has also gotten a little bit better on defense. Like he's still inattentive off the ball, but really gets through screens on the ball.
Disruptive.
Long, active, disruptive. Yeah. Like there are things that he does at an effective level defensively. I get that they do need to like clear a little bit of money, and like Oubre would be coming off the bench this year, like almost certainly. But I feel like we hadn't really seen a ton about them moving Kelly up until then. And for a team that presumably wants to compete in the Eastern Conference this year with, if Joel Embiid is healthy, Paul George getting back, Tyrese Maxey full season, Jared McCain, see what you got with VJ Edgecombe, everything. Maybe they just feel like with all those bodies in the backcourt, they have enough cover and they can move Oubre. But if not, I don't know. Like I think that other teams could probably do worse than going out and getting Kelly Oubre if you just need like an influx of size and slashing and, targeted, useful defensive ability on the court.
Well, I mean, to me, this is the type of guy that's really fascinating, Sam, because I think people would immediately say, like, you can't, you're not going to win in the playoffs with Kelly Oubre Jr., like, in your rotation. And I could hear that. But I do think Kelly Oubre Jr. can help you win regular season games. Like even like real, real contenders. I think he can help you in the regular season because he can score the basketball a little bit. He plays with energy. He was third in the NBA in deflections per game last year. So he's like disruptive, if nothing else. It just seems like there could be some situations out there where a team could bring him in and be like, hey, this is our 9th guy, and we're going to play him in the regular season. And then we're just going to play him sparingly in the playoffs whenever we shrink our rotation. And for me, I find value in those players because I think you need those players during the 82-game regular season that, hey, whenever our third option is out, maybe Oubre comes in and drops 25 tonight because he has the ability to do that. And you may not be able to count him on him in the second, third, into the finals of the playoffs. I guess I understand from the money side of it. If Philly feels like they need to do it, I would be interested if no team bites on this, especially if the price is extremely low to bring him in. Now, I will say this: it's a team that it is a team that's going to be able to need that has shooting already because the floor spacing is just so like it's just not consistent enough, right? Like he's career 33% from three. It is decent volume, so you can't be a team that already has shooting questions.
Yeah, like just immediately off the top of my head, like one team that stood out was Milwaukee, right? Because Milwaukee has their room exception still, I believe. Oubre is making 8.3. The room exception's like 8.7, right? So you could slot him into that. I don't know. Like I know that they need space around Giannis, but that's the bigger problem for them is that they just have all of the crazy roster crunch, right? But like, is there a world where they could figure out a way to maybe you like throw Andre Jackson back in the deal and you take Oubre into the room? Like, I don't know. I'm like just trying to spitball a little bit here. I mean, I'm sure that Milwaukee, though, is probably trying to avoid the tax, but like they have a ton of tax space even still. Like they're still 13 under the tax because of moving Dame. So I don't know. That's an interesting one to me. Like I wonder if that's one that tracks. Like there are just a few teams that could use guys like this.
My immediate reaction is I can't do a team of Kyle Kuzma and Kelly Oubre Jr. together.
I mean, look, it would be tough. We're not going to pretend it wouldn't be tough. It would be tough.
Yeah.
Like Sacramento maybe is like another, they have a lot of guys in the backcourt, but length and disruption defensively, like they might be able to use one more of those bodies. Like, would you rather have Oubre or Russ if you're them? Probably Oubre. If you're them, I mean, specifically.
Yeah. Listen, the Russ thing there is weird anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason I bring them up is because they still have their full non-taxpayer. None of their trade exceptions really reach the level of Oubre, but like they still have a bit of money to spend if you want.
So I was just looking at like top defenses in the NBA and deflections, right? Like teams that, because he has real defensive limitations, right? Like I think we both would agree, but are you a team that would value that? So like obviously OKC's number one, the Warriors, Sixers right there, Hawks, Raptors, Magic, Pelicans, Clippers, Wolves, Grizzlies, Rockets, Pacers. Any of those teams jump out at you in terms of, those are the top, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 teams in deflections. Any interesting ones that maybe like, hey, we would value what he does defensively in short spurts?
Yeah, like the Raptors, like stylistically, yes, but I mean, they just have so many bodies.
There's no minutes there.
Yeah, that just doesn't work. So
even Atlanta, right? Even Atlanta doesn't. I feel like the depth on the wing has been built out enough. Like they need a guy like a true 4. They like Mo Gay. Yeah, like I don't feel like.
Well, and they're only $3 million away from the tax. Too.
Okay,
like they're pretty close up against it. So like they can't just take Oubre, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I do get why this is hard if you're not trying to attach like any money to him, right? But I don't know, like he's not a disaster. Like he's not. I guess like my point is that like Andre Drummond, I think like can't really play anymore, right? Like on an NBA court, I don't think you can put Andre Drummond out there and you will get effective minutes. Like I think you can get 1,000 effective minutes from Kelly Oubre in the NBA.
Yeah. I was looking at the Clippers, but they're almost hard capped at the first apron. Yeah.
It's tricky. It's really a tricky. It's trickier maybe than what I expected to move him. If you're not willing to take anything back, I almost wonder if it's going to be easier for them to move Drummond.
Yeah.
Even though Drummond is terrible, just because the money. All due respect, Andre, great career and everything, but like, you know, the money is just like slightly less, and pushes teams like less close to the aprons and less close to the tax number. Like there's a world where you can do that and like open up a bit of space, I think.
Yeah.
And his 5 million number is way easier to fit into myriad other exceptions as opposed to like trade exceptions and things, as opposed to the 8.3 million that Oubre has.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. I'm surprised that Drummond is still a member of the Philadelphia 76ers. I will say that.
Sure.
Okay. Bryce, I think that's all we got today.
Cool.
Another fun episode.
I feel like we hit on a lot.
We hit on a lot in an hour and a half. It was not a marathon. We did pretty well here.
We did. Yes, I would agree.
Proud of us. Let's maybe try not to go to podcast court again next week. I'm sure we're going to have to, knowing this thing, but I would love to not have to go to podcast court again.
It makes me uncomfortable because I know that like I feel very confident whenever I get on here and you ask me to analyze basketball, right? And whenever we get into like this type of stuff, I'm like, man, just don't say something stupid that like doesn't make, you know what I mean? Because it's just like, I'm not well versed in the law and, you know, the intricacies of those type of things. So I obviously have an opinion on the matter, but it is a little bit outside of my comfort zone compared to if you want to talk defending the Spain pick and roll.
Yeah, Bryce is not going toe to toe with people on bird law, much like
No.
Charlie Kelly. So
No.
what can you do? Okay, Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
Yeah, at Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky, got the Motor City Hoops Substack, the Pistons Pulse podcast, and got a football game tomorrow. Send us some luck if you have it in you. Last Friday was a struggle, guys. We got to get it back. We got to get it back this week. We need a good game tomorrow. So if you're into giving some luck, send it my way. Otherwise, Game Theory Podcast with the Sam Vecenie right here.
Go to wish Bryce good luck on his football team tomorrow night. Ross actually asked us what movies we're watching.
He asked you because
recently?
Ross knows I don't watch movies and I have crappy opinions. Yeah, I watched Moneyball last night. I love that movie.
Good for you. Yeah. Have you done, just knowing you and what you and Randy tend to watch, have you done the crazy like catfish thing on Netflix yet?
No. I think I saw this though.
You should watch it.
What's it called?
It's called Unknown Number, the High School Catfish.
Yes, I saw a preview or something for this the other day.
As a high school teacher and football coach, you should watch this.
Yeah.
It's a wild ride.
Yeah.
Like, truly wild. Well, it is a very propulsive documentary. Let's go with. It's not like the most incredible thing in the world, but like it is very propulsive, very watchable, and I think that you will enjoy it.
Got it. Yep.
What else have I watched? I have watched. Let's see here. Let's go to the Letterboxd real quick and see what we got. I watched All the President's Men while I was sick. That was just a delight. Just truly one of the greatest movies ever made. Have you seen The Naked Gun yet?
No.
It's so funny. It is literally
I saw you tweet about it.
It's literally a joke every 30 seconds. It is so funny, Bryce. Like there is a joke like 20 minutes or 15 minutes into that movie that made me laugh harder than maybe anything I've seen in the last year in a movie. It was so funny. And it's so dumb. Like, just be prepared. It is so true. It's truly so dumb, but it is the right kind of dumb. I recommend The Naked Gun to anybody. This weekend, I'll catch up on a lot of 2025 stuff, but I've been watching some older stuff. I watched Deep Cover on a plane to Thailand. I watched Deep Cover is amazing. That's like a 5-star 1990s like crime movie by Bill Duke with Lawrence Fishburne. So good. And then I watched The Keep on the flight back from Thailand, which was Michael Mann's first movie. And it's like this crazy horror movie, like in a keep. It's a wild ride.
Hard pass.
Yeah, it was very good. Very, very good.
Okay. There's not a lot of movie watching. We will watch Big Brother religiously right now, which big Brother drama this week. The fans were not happy with a Big Brother decision. And then, I mean, like, our kids are playing sports. I told you, I think we talked about that before. Yeah. Like, it's just, it's a lot right now. So, but we'll try to get, I saw the documentary you're talking about. It sounds like something I definitely need to check out. So
I think it's something that you should definitely watch. That is yours and Randy's homework assignment for Sunday.
Got it.
Okay. Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. We have a ton of great stuff over at The Athletic on just myriad things happening right now. From Eurobasket to, all the Kawhi stuff, everything that's going on. Please go subscribe over at The Athletic. We'll be back on Sunday. We have a plan. We'll see if Pablo blows it up. So that's where we're at. We'll see if Pablo blows this thing up. So until next time, we'll talk soon.